We're going to discuss how you can utilize Paraguay's territorial tax system to your advantage. And we're going to compare to different countries in Europe, going to talk about some different places. So to get this whole started, I wanted to ask you, Jesse, what makes Paraguay a very unique place in South America, and why would anybody want to consider living in Paraguay? What's so special about Paraguay's territorial tax system?
Hi, Gerald. Hi, everyone. Of course, if you want to have a tax residency in Paraguay, first step is getting your temporary residency. If you are new in Paraguay, you probably have your permanent residency if you're not new in Paraguay. But once you have your temporary residency, it's really easy to become a tax resident in Paraguay, yes. So you will have to pay to the government a 10% only if you are making money inside of Paraguay, if you are selling services, products, if you want to own a market or supermarket or any type of business in Paraguay, every type of economic activity, you probably will have to pay the 10% or less, depending on which activity are you working on. But if you're not doing money inside of Paraguay, you are going to have to pay zero taxes to the Paraguay government, which means that Paraguay's taxation system is a territorial one. It's not based on citizenship, it's not based on residency, it's based on territorial income. So it's really easy and it's very convenient because we don't have any regulation for digital nomads, for example, so you can easily be working for another company in another country, or you can own a business, international business, and Paraguay won't charge you anything, won't ask you any money for it. So it's very convenient for you if you are having or holding anything outside Paraguay. I think that this is very convenient. It's very attractive for every type of entrepreneurs, and Paraguayans itself, they can project themselves internationally without having to pay taxes for the Paraguay government. So what do you think about it, Gerald?
I personally think it's one of the best tax systems out there, unless you move to a tax haven that won't tax you on any income at all. Paraguay is really a great deal with the territorial tax system. You explained it very well, Jesse. I want to now give people a little bit of an idea of what kind of a change that actually is. Let's say you are a tax resident in the United States, you're a tax resident of the United States, you want to reduce your tax burden. You've got many options. You can go to countries that just tax you a lot less. Or you can go to a country like Paraguay that applies a territorial tax system. Any income that you derive from outside the country is not taxed. Anybody who has lived in the US, most US citizens that are in the country or have lived on the mainland, they know what it's like filing the taxes every year. If they have worked, they know the process, and they know that the process is not a whole lot of fun. You have to declare everything to the US government. We're talking about foreign bank accounts. There is a form that you need to file. It's called the FBAR, the reporting of foreign bank accounts. It is not fun. Any account that you have overseas, any financial account, crypto accounts, bank accounts, any assets that you have. There are a few exceptions that are not included, but you have to really report everything. The penalties for reporting inaccurately can be severe. People have to be really careful about this whole process. But this is not present in Paraguay. In Paraguay, there's no reporting like the US applies. Like with the F part, it doesn't exist in Paraguay. In the US, if you generate money, let's say you have a company in the UK, and let's say you have another bank account in the UK, but your tax residency is in the US. You would have to pay taxes on the income that you made from that company. Let's say you paid yourself a salary. Even if that salary was paid from the UK company to the UK personal bank account, you'd still have to file that in your US tax return. You would have to include that in your US tax return. Any income that you have from abroad, that must be hoarded. Now, of course, there are again some exceptions, but it is just hell. Now, Jesse, you're telling me that in Paraguay, it isn't anything like that. It's pretty smooth, it's easy. it's relaxed, and people have a good reason to go there. If we take a look at the tax incentives, I mean, taxes today are a big deal. I mean, we have some of the highest tax rates in the entire world. Take a look at Europe, Western Europe. I mean, up to 55, sometimes 57% of taxes must be paid to European governments, Western European governments. It's crazy. People have a really good reason to move these days. What are your thoughts, Jesse?
Yeah, for example, I can tell my story to everyone. For example, I, as a person who works for companies outside Paraguay, of course, I need to show to each country, for example, in United States, the government to the United States, I need to show, and yearly I need to send a documentation showing that I am a tax resident of Paraguay and that I am paying taxes here in Paraguay. Actually, I'm not paying any taxes because I don't own anything to the Paraguayan government, because I am working for international customers, not only United States, but also another people from outside Paraguay. So I can show, for example, you can show, I don't know, to your government that you are a tax resident in Paraguay without being citizen of Paraguay, of course, and you will have to pay zero taxes here in Paraguay, and you will do everything legally. That's a great advantage for myself as an entrepreneur, for thousands of Paraguayans now that are moving with international working and they are having customers outside Paraguay. This is a great, great advantage because it improves their lives, their economies, their families. It's bringing really a lot of good for them because they are not wasting any percentage of their earning, of their work to the government. So this is great, actually, not only for Paraguayan, but everyone who decides to be a tax resident in Paraguay.
Totally agree with you. One thing that is really important, and I think we should point that out, let's say you come from Europe, you've lived in Europe, your tax residency was in Norway, perhaps it was in Germany or some other country. It is super important that you make sure that you terminate that tax residency in your current home first. The mistake that I have seen people make, and it can be a pretty fatal mistake if you make it, that people would think, okay, I moved to Paraguay, I get residency. As of right now, we are in February 2023. You can become a tax resident of Paraguay, assuming you spend 120 days or more per year in the country. People think they can just move there and completely eliminate their tax burden back home. That's not how it works. You have to make sure before you move to Paraguay that you figured out whatever the current conditions are in your country, that you get that done first, you get that straight, because you don't want to have multiple tax residences abroad. It would be bad, and perhaps you have an obligation to pay taxes back to your current tax residency, wherever that is. Maybe you have already spent too much time in the country that they won't let you go this year. Maybe you have to continue to pay taxes for another 1 to 2 years. Yes, such instances are very possible. Some countries have very strict residency laws. You can't just leave the next day and not pay taxes back to the government. That's not how it works. I think it's really important that you consult with a professional in your home country to make sure that you have that part figured out, because you don't want to run into any unexpected surprises. You don't want to be disappointed. What do you think, Jesse?
Yeah, I heard that many people, for example, they want to visit their families back in their home countries. They are living now in Paraguay, but they want to come back, for example, for a while to visit their families. They cannot spend a lot of time in their home country because otherwise they will have to start paying taxes, even though they are having or holding a permanent residency in Paraguay. Once they go there and they start living for a few months, or I don't know, spending days in their home countries with their loved ones, they need to pay taxes just because they are, I don't know, living and spending some time there. So that's not happening in Paraguay. You can visit the time you want, and not because of that you have to obligatorily pay any taxes. Only and the exclusive form, you will need to pay taxes if you are having territorial income. It's quite easy and convenient.
You explained it very well again. It's really important, and I have pointed it out before, make sure you inform yourself about your current tax residency. Under what conditions you can leave, how soon can you leave, do you still have to pay taxes back? And sometimes you have to establish your tax residency abroad before your current country allows you to exit. There are really many variables involved here. Each country is uniquely different. We can't really discuss every country's tax residency right now. It would take probably days to get into all the details. I highly recommend that you do that. Let's say you are on a US green card and you're like, hey, I want to leave the US. I want to surrender permanent residency in the US. You may be able to do that, but maybe not within the same year. Like, even if you had the green card just for one day during a given year, you have to file your taxes. The IRS wants to know what you've been up to. They want to know how much money you made. And so we'd have to give that up within a given calendar year before you can consider leaving. So as long as you have the permanent residence card of the United States, you're still obligated to file taxes, report any foreign bank accounts. Make sure you remember all of this.
Subscribe now and turn on alerts to never miss any of my future nomadism, dating, and business advice videos. Thank you for watching.